Week 5 of the NFL kicked off on Thursday Night Football, and in today's video, I'm going to help you guys set your lineups at the tight end position. We're going to be going through every single matchup, starting off in London on Sunday in the morning and finishing things off with Monday Night Football. And not only am I going to tell you guys whether you should start or sit the tight ends in every single game, you will also learn where I have them ranked at the position. But before we could get into things, please make sure if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you hit that subscribe button down below. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. We begin in London on Sunday. Set your alarms, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the cold-like Minnesota Vikings going up against the Cleveland Browns. Now, in terms of a tight end matchup, this one is incredibly underwhelming. TJ Hockenson has been a big disappointment this season. Outside of week 3 up against the Bengals, he has failed to score more than 8 points in every other matchup. So far this season, facing the Browns has been a very tough task for the tight end position. So I don't feel very good about Hockenson here at all. He is in that high-end tight end 2 range where, you know, Hockenson is good enough to have that earth-shattering top-end game-winning week, but ultimately he hasn't done enough this season to actually justify ranking him any higher than this. Both Harold Fannin as well as David Njoku are desperation starts tight ends at best, in my opinion. Neither guy really excites me at this point in the season, but the hope here is that Dylan Gabriel is able to fully revive this offense. The odds of that may actually be slim to none, but hey, there are at least a bit of hope here compared to watching what Joe Flacco has been doing. So while the talent is very clearly there for Harold Fannin, who was a top 12 tight end in back-to-back games to start off the season, Njoku, on the other hand, has been dealing with a knee injury and really hasn't had that same peak that Harold Fannin has had. He scored just 3 PPR points last week, so neither guy you are really excited about entering into your lineup, but due to the fact that the tight end position is brutal this season, you may have to start them in that fringe tight end 2 range. Next up, we move to 1 p.m. on Sunday with the Houston Texans going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Mark Andrews was off to an awful start to start off the season, but over the last 2 weeks, he has shown some life. 6+ targets in both showings and 10+ points in each matchup. Sure, Cooper Rush is definitely a large downgrade over Lamar Jackson, but with the tight end position being largely a disaster, he is a good enough player to finish inside of the top 12. I would sooner let John Jones punch me directly in the gut over starting Dalton Schultz in the year 2025. The guy has the ability to be a reliable tight end in fantasy football, but his problem has nothing to do with his ability. It is the offense as a whole. CJ Stroud has been underwhelming, and with the offensive line failing him, you cannot trust Schultz at all. And even if he sees 6 targets like he has over the past 2 games, he hasn't even top 10 PPR points a single time this season. I get this is a good matchup for tight ends, but with such little touchdown upside, I would rather look elsewhere at the tight end position. Next up, we got the Miami Dolphins going up against the Carolina Panthers at home in Carolina. Now, Darren Waller is coming off an absolute heater where he scored 2 touchdowns in his Miami Dolphins debut on Monday Night Football, 3 receptions on 4 targets for 27 yards, and those 2 touchdowns up against the Jets. With the Panthers allowing the 6th most points to the tight end position on a weekly basis, I feel good about Darren Waller here. Now, we have to understand that he is still getting his sea legs underneath him from when he was retired, right? He played just 28% of the snaps last week, and sure, I do expect that to increase, but I wouldn't expect him to go out there and play 70% of the snaps this week, right? You're really just looking for a touchdown upside play. In a great matchup, he is a low-end tight end 1 to a high-end tight end type of 2 type of play. With Jatavion Sanders out, Tommy Make That Ass Tremble is the tight end 1 on the Panthers. He ate last week with 5 receptions on 8 targets for 42 yards and a touchdown as the tight end 6 in a spot where the Panthers got their clocks cleaned. The Dolphins are the second best matchup for tight ends on a weekly basis, so if you wanted to start him, I get it, but after just 1 game, I'm not ready to push him up my rankings too much. Next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Bowers didn't practice on Thursday with the knee injury after being limited on Wednesday, which is a bad sign for his ability on Sunday. He also didn't practice on Friday. Now, I would never count count out Brock Bowers, as he has been dealing with this injury for the whole season, and with Michael Mayer dealing with a concussion, he may just have to play. Bowers will be a must-start tight end when he does play. I know this hasn't been what we expected out of Bowers this season, but at the end of the day, you can't turn away from him, as he has been fine when he has played. Now, Tyler Warren has been nothing short of fantastic this season. Based upon where you got him at ADP, you are feeling like a genius. You're feeling like the Albert Einstein of your fantasy league. He looks like what I expected the other tight end in this game, Brock Bowers, to be like. This dude is playing like an NFL vet, and he is just 4 games into his career. Even with Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor playing great as well, there is still room for Warren to feast. 2 of 4 games as a top 3 tight end and 3 of 4 games inside the top 7, coming off of a 5 reception on 6 targets for 70 yards game in LA up against the Rams with a touchdown, as well as 2 rushes for 3 yards. Warren is penciled in as a must-start top 4 option weekly. Next up, we got the New York Football Giants at the New Orleans Saints. Now, Theo Johnson appears to be a favorite target of Jackson Dart, and now with Malik Neighbors out of the picture, I think we'll be seeing more Theo Johnson going forward. Obviously, this is far from an ideal start, as I can't even guarantee 5 targets this week, but with a touchdown last week and with the offense opening more up into his favor this week in a mid-range matchup for tight ends, I got him as a dart throw start. Seems like Juwan Johnson will be playing on Sunday, dealing with an ankle injury. Johnson had his worst game of the season last week up against the Bills, but I'm not going to panic at all after 3 top 9 finishes out of Johnson over the first 3 games with 8+ targets in each game. Juwan is a locked and loaded top 7 option for me on the week. Next up, we move to New York with the, or technically New Jersey, because that's where MetLife Stadium is, the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Jumbo Jets. Now, Jake Ferguson has been getting fed heavily over the last 3 weeks. 12 targets in week 2, 14 in week 3, and last week up against the Packers, he had 7 receptions on those 7 targets for 40 yards and a touchdown. Without CeeDee Lamb, you know the passing attack will run through George Pickens as well as Jake Ferguson. With how strong Dak looked against a stout Packers defense, and with the Jets defense not looking good, to say the very least, right? This is a Jets defense that is straight up dick cheese compared to what we thought they would be. In an above mid-range matchup for tight ends, Jake Ferguson belongs as a must-start top 4 option. Now, Mason Taylor looked great up against the Dolphins, as most players do look up against that bum-ass Dolphins defense. 5 receptions on 7 targets for 65 yards as the tight end 11. By far the best game of his young career. If Fields continues to feed him like he did over the last 2 games with 6+ targets in each of those matchups, I will list Taylor as a start, but with just 1 flash game, I'm not yet ready to bang the drum for him. Next up, we move to the Denver Broncos at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Goddard has been banged up for what feels like the whole entire season. At this point, he did practice on Thursday with the knee injury, so I do expect him to be good to go. Goddard continues to just score touchdowns, right? He just continues to find the end zone. So, while there is definitely risk in a guy that, you know, is that touchdown dependent, he had just 2 targets and 4 targets over the last 2 weeks. If you keep finding the end zone like this, we're going to have to keep staying with the super hot fire here. Shout out to Big Shaq, and keep rocking with him as a high-end tight end 2 to a low-end tight end 1. Now, Eazy-E Evan Ingram returned last week from injury and has still yet to eclipse Adam Troutman in terms of snaps, but we did see last week him see the amount of targets that I expected out of him coming into the year. 7 targets last week up against the Bengals for 4 receptions and 29 yards. I do assume things will go his way soon, but until then, I'm not ready to start him. Next up, we move to the 4 p.m. slate of games with the Atlanta Titans at the Arizona Cardinals. Make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button down below if you have enjoyed today's video thus far. And I am sick, so this is still my Jordan flu game. So if my voice sounds a little bit messed up, I do apologize. It'll be fixed probably by the start of next week, hopefully, because if I keep feeling like this, it's going to be no bueno. So the Tennessee Titans at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, with Brock Bowers running ice cold so far to start off the season, Trey McBride is the clear tight end 1 in my rankings every single week. I know he hasn't even actually reached that mark a single time this season, but he has been a top 12 tight end every single week and has been a top 6 tight end in 2 of 4 games. The consistency that Trey McBride brings weekly is second to none. 7 receptions on 11 targets last week against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football for 52 yards. Say what you want about Kyler Murray, and I have already said a lot about fucking Kyler Murray on this channel, but he does love him some Trey McBride. As I said before, Trey is a locked and loaded top-end tight end weekly as my tight end number 1 due to the tight ends offense being completely limp dick. This Tennessee Titans offense is a disaster. Starting Chig is mission impossible. He played well in week 3 and swindled some of us into thinking that he could end up being a reliable asset, but he followed that up as a complete and utter bum, scoring 1 fantasy point up against the Texans. Now, I should not call him a bum, because it's not his fault. The offense is just really that bad. Until Cam Ward actually figures things out and this offense can actually score points, why bother even risking it and starting him? Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Seattle Seahawks. Now, both Cade Otton as well as AJ Barner are going to be sits. Even with Mike Evans, Cade Otton is about as useful as a hole in the head. And when you put Mike Evans out of the equation, he is even more useless. He hasn't finished inside the top 30 a single time this season in PPR, even with the matchup up against the Seahawks being the best for tight ends in fantasy on a per game basis. With Chris Godwin back into the fold, there is no need to roll the dice here on starting him. Now, Barner scored last week and has 2 touchdowns on the season, but with 3 or fewer targets in every single week of the season, he cannot be trusted. If you're relying on a guy to take one of his 2 targets to maybe 3 targets if you're lucky to score a touchdown every week, you are going to leave more disappointed than you have ever felt in your life, especially when you consider that the team will utilize probably 3 tight ends in a majority of weeks. Now, if Barner continues to see 80+% of the snaps like he did last week, and he does see an uptick in targets, then I will sit here and come back and tell you, hey, you know what? I like Barner, because I think the talent is there. But if you're just getting 2 to 3 targets a week, how could you possibly actually make an argument to start him? Next up, we got the Detroit Lions at the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, even with the Lions offense running hotter than your seatbelt buckle in July, Sam Laporta hasn't gotten in on the fun outside of week number 1. 3 straight weeks with 4 targets after 9 targets in week 1. 3 receptions on 4 targets for 39 yards last week. You ultimately can't pull the plug on Laporta due to how good of a player he is, but you also can't rank him as a top 4 guy due to his performances so far this season. Against the Bengals defense that has been a wet dream matchups for tight ends this season, Laporta is in that lower mid-range tight end range as my tight end number 8. So you're still starting him, but obviously you just can't be ecstatic about it. For Mike Licky on my Gesicki with no Noah Fant last week, Mike Gesicki took full advantage of this opportunity, right? He played amazing. No, he didn't. He had 1 catch on 1 target for 8 yards. With Jake Browning under center, there is legitimately nothing you can say to make me want to feel good about starting anyone outside of Jamar Chase. I don't even feel good starting fucking Jamar Chase. So why would I ever start Mike Gesicki? And with Noah Fant back, there is really no need to play the guessing game. Next up, we got the Washington Commanders at the Los Angeles Chargers. But before we break down this game in depth, more at the tight end position and the rest of the games on the slate for week number 5, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog, sign up using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description. You'll get a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you play $5 in the pick'em, you receive $100 in bonus funds or in bonus entries. If you don't know how the pickup works, it is incredibly simple. You make at least 2 picks on the higher or the lower. If both the picks hit, you get paid. If you do multiple other picks, the payout will be higher, but you have to hit all of the picks. So make sure you guys do check that out, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. Now, with Jaden Stormy Daniels out, Zach Ertz's value has fallen off the edge of the earth. His targets have dipped and his fantasy points have collapsed. With Daniels in, though, Ertz scored a touchdown in each game this season. With Jaden Daniels expected to play, I expect a big bounce back this week for Ertz and a below average matchup for tight ends as a top 10 tight end. Now, Gadsden came out the gate hot in week 3 at his first ever NFL start. He was on fire, NBA Jam style, 5 receptions on 7 targets for 46 yards. He followed that up with 2 receptions on 3 targets for 16 yards. He appears to be the clear tight end 1 now, but I will note that they still use Conklin as well. So for me, I would rather just see him play well more consistently before I'm willing to start him. Next up, we move to, cause you waited all day for Sunday night, the New England Patriots at the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. When the Patriots slammed the Panthers last week, we didn't see a whole lot of Hunter Henry. Now, when you are ass blasting a team as hard as the Patriots did, you don't need to throw the ball a ton, so you can't really be mad at Henry for that. He still did get 39 yards on his 2 receptions and a touchdown as the tight end 10. So again, you can't really be that mad with that showing. Now, the Bills have been a rough matchup for tight ends, but those numbers are a bit hyperinflated. They faced Mark Andrews when he didn't do anything and he wasn't involved through the first 2 weeks of the season. Followed that up with a rookie in Mason Taylor. Then they played the Dolphins pre-Darren Waller, and last week was a tough task. They played well up against Juwan Johnson. I'll give them credit for that. But again, the Saints offense is pretty limp dick, so can't give him so much credit. Henry has been on a heater so far this season, so you got to keep rocking with him as a mid-range tight end 1. While the Bills use 3 tight ends every single week, and on paper that might sound absolutely brutal, for fantasy, Dalton Kincaid has lit up the scoreboard, 3 touchdowns over the first 4 games of the season, and 10+ points in 3 of 4 games with a top 4 finish in half of his games. Kincaid has earned his spot inside the top 7, and with a top 8 matchup for tight ends up against the Patriots defense, you have to feel good here. Final game here is going to be Monday Night Football. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Jacksonville Jaguars with Xavier Worthy back into the fold. The upside of Kelsey has also taken a hit. Kelsey will just kind of sit in that tight end 1 range where you know that he's always live to find the end zone. And, you know, he's always going to get his 7+ targets-ish some games. But again, your excitement level just can't be at its peak at this point based on how he has looked. Now, maybe the fact that his soon-to-be wife dropped a new album, maybe that's going to fire his ass up, but we shall see. 5 receptions on 5 targets for 48 yards against the Ravens last week. He is a top 10 tight end for me. Now, Brenton Strange, the Jaguars offense just never fails to piss me off, though Brenton Strange kind of feels like more of the safer options on this team. One of them, at least. Strange has had 7 targets in back-to-back weeks, has scored 10+ points in 3 of 4 games, and with the tight ends being very shaky on a weekly basis, Strange belongs in that low-end tight end 1 to high-end tight end 2 range. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen already. Love you long time. As always, good boy.